the Cowboys have an offseason that was equivalent to Peyton Russell's SAT score? That's what Bleacher Report wants you to believe.
1650.
Average.
Yeah,
I mean, the UNT, baby.
Very average. Go Mean Green, caw, or whatever y'all's little slogan is. Bleacher Report had 2023 offseason report cards. And just now that the draft is over and we've seen really the relevant wave of free agency, maybe there's a move or two left to be made. But they went through and graded every team's offseason. And the grade for the Dallas Cowboys is a C+, which is absurd.
Absurd.
It's absurd. I'm not saying it's an A, but to have it at a C+ after, even if you don't love the draft, you think the draft is whatever.
I mean, look, when you draft two people from Michigan, it's a bad draft.
I mean, Cowboys might have a tough time beating TCU next year. But I think when you look at, they covered needs clearly with the draft. So at the very least, even if you don't like the players, they did get bodies in place at spots that they needed. And when you look at the fact that they absolutely did fleece Houston and Indianapolis in those trades.
I agree.
And they got players at real positions of need that we were talking about heading into the offseason, that is this a spot where we feel comfortable. They got another starting receiver. They got another starting corner. Those are two huge spots for them.
Yeah, I think the lowest that you could go is a B.
Yes.
So I don't know if that makes a C+ absurd, but too low. This is going to come down to me. Look, none of us know about the draft picks, okay? We don't know what they're going to be. Right now, the feeling nationally on the Cowboys draft class is, it's a little lukewarm with a chance to be nice. That's kind of the feeling. This, to me, is going to come down to Stephon Gilmore. He's going to be the X factor to decide what the grade is. I feel like I know more of what Cooks is going to be than Gilmore, just in terms of age and what he has left. That's it. It's going to come down to Stephon Gilmore. But in terms of the value, I don't think anybody could argue that value-wise, the Cowboys, we were all celebrating what they did.
They did a fine job
in trade.
Yeah, they did a fine job in terms of value. There's no doubt about that. You know, they're older. Those guys are older, and then you don't know what they're going to give you week to week in terms of, from an age perspective, can they recover? At least with Gilmore. But yeah, I don't have a problem with their off season. Not at all. I've rarely had. I'm not a big sign free agent guy anyway, so I don't care that the Cowboys have never really signed anybody. It's never really impacted how I view it.
Let's forget just the entire offseason acquisitions. Just on the surface of these questions here, I'm curious from both of you. How would you give a letter grade to the Stephon Gilmore trade? You trade a 5th rounder for Stephon Gilmore.
That's solid. It's B+,
B+.
A-. Yeah.
Okay, how would you grade
with a chance to be higher?
Grade the Brandon Cooks trade,
Same.
where they almost gave up a 3rd rounder 5 months earlier. They get him for a 5th.
Same. B+, A-.
B+ to A. Okay.
Yep.
How do you grade finally getting out from under Ezekiel Elliott's contract?
Well, I would have given it an A until they.
He's not coming back.
No, until they got under somebody else's contract.
Okay, that's fine.
They broke up with the crazy girl and found another one.
How would you grade the decision not to sign Dalton Schultz to a long-term deal?
I'd give it a B or B+.
So like when we're talking about the 4 most consequential moves they made this offseason, I think everybody agrees these are all pretty strong. They even broke down the grade. It was a C+ overall. They broke it down to the draft grade and the offseason acquisitions grade, and they gave them a B- on the offseason moves outside of the draft. And then it was a C+ for the draft, and it came down to a C+. I just think that...
Well, it's Bleacher Report.
Look, if you want to call... Even if you wanted to call the draft a C, that's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. I think they're going to end up being good players, but they covered needs.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
They didn't.
There's a way of knowing.
They didn't sacrifice capital. They didn't make a Houston move where they're giving up big capital to go up and get an extra player. I think you can feel totally comfortable with what Dallas did, and if it proves wrong, then we can all say that sucked.
Look,
but
needs-wise, it's impossible. It's very hard for me to come up with a second biggest need this team has besides left guard. Yep. I don't know what else after. There's nothing glaring.
Linebacker. Linebacker's where I go.
Okay.
With what? With
the next biggest thing where they need depth. I don't know that they have enough rotational guys.
I'm
right
not
now.
a fan of drafting a defensive tackle in the first round. There's I mean, there's enough like analytic articles that say never. There's 4 positions you draft in the first round or you trade out.
By the way, as we head into training camp here in a couple months, whenever that is, one of the bubble players we need to watch that I feel like has been for the Tolos and on social media a fan favorite that people keep clamoring for. We need to watch that Jabril Cox doesn't make the team.
Whoa.
Really?
Yeah. That's been
Why?
The rehab process off of that knee has been much. The questions they had about Michael Gallup that we've talked about, those exist with Jabril Cox, and he's way deeper into the process than Gallup was. And so that's a little concerning. I think that they feel like he's not totally picking up everything that they wanted him to. And look, if we get out there at training camp, and you guys saw it last year, if we get out there at training camp and he still has that black compression sleeve on his leg, he's not trusting the knee, and I don't know that we can feel good about him performing at the level that he needs to.
What round was he taken?
Early fourth round.
Oh, fourth.
Okay.
And they were debating taking him in the third. They liked him, and he's a really good cover linebacker. The run stuff just has not come around for him. Andrew Brandt. You guys ever talk to Andrew Brandt?
We may have had him on once.
Brandt is one of my favorite business of football type of analysts out there. He used to be one of the executives for the Green Bay Packers. He was part of the hiring committee that actually brought Mike McCarthy to Green Bay, and he was in that interview process. In fact, when McCarthy interviewed with 2 other teams before he got hired here in Dallas, Dallas did not talk to Andrew Brandt. But Andrew talked to the 2 other teams. They got his perspective, and he gave them the thumbs up and said, that's going to be a good guy for your culture. That's a guy that absolutely is somebody that you should work with.
Oh, so he and Jay Glazer got Mike hired. Nice.
Well, not here in Dallas. He didn't.
Oh.
Because he didn't do that here. But the question has come up. He likes to tackle myths about the salary cap and things like that. The question came up recently in his article for Sports Illustrated of should or elite players should take less to help the team win. This was in response to what Joe Burrow had said this week and what fans always clamor for. He says no. And this is from the executive's point of view. He says absolutely not. They should not do that. He goes, less cap.
By the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The fact that fans stand for the owners and not the play.
How has that happened? Is that
Because
one of the most?
the owners-
That's one of the most amazing psychological tricks NFL owners.
The owners
have
have them convinced. They have them convinced that it's good for the team. They have them convinced about it.
Yeah, we care about the team first, and if you are doing something that is selfish or hurts the team overall goal, we're going to blame you. We care about the team winning.